Hello, everyone. It's been a while since I've given everybody kind of an overall update for where we are as a company with Find. And so I thought I would take the opportunity to go through and just mention a few things that might help us all understand a bit more about where things are going. So we've had a really busy past 12 months. I think everybody that's been involved has known that within these last 12 months, we've built scheduling, we've brought on some large clients, including Clyde and PJS and others, and just a fantastic job to the team. We've made great progress with mobile, Grand Central, connectors, backend. Obviously, our Utah-based group, Ben, Chris, and others, who I'll talk about here in a minute, have done a phenomenal job with service. And just Ryan and I really appreciate it. The purpose of this video today is to give you kind of an overview of where we're going as a company and try to plant that vision of the product roadmap. I want to talk a bit about a new partner that we have that will help us to also fulfill that vision. And then speak a bit about the roles we're all playing so there's clarity and everybody's not confused. When you see a name, you'll understand who's playing what role. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to start with this idea of what Find is trying to do as a company. As we know, Find has a really special place for blue-collar workers. And what is meant by blue collar is this idea that people are out and working, they're contractors, janitors, people that are out and about away from their computer. We know that. We've all lived that. That's where facial recognition on mobile and time card approvals and payroll workflows and micro locations with beacons and you name it. We all understand how time tracking is really, really valuable. We're finding that that's been very well received in the marketplace. We're winning some large clients, and we've got some very large potential clients that are currently in our sales pipeline that are looking very serious. And that's in big part through the work all of you have done to help us get there. But there's other pieces of the workforce needs that are out there. So for example, hiring. When somebody gets hired to a new job, there's a whole bunch of challenges with that. Number one, we don't know which employees are going to be the best employees, meaning the highest performing employees. Who should we hire that's going to be with us the longest? That's the employee retention there to the right. Once we hire an employee, how do we make that employee better at their job? How do we increase their learning? And traditionally, the way this is done now is they're very separate systems. Most hiring systems don't know about the time system. Most time systems don't know about the hiring or learning management system. And none of them have a great understanding of the employee retention. So our goal with Find is to break down these barriers and to say, we want to share the data between all of these different areas. If we're tracking time, we know some things about the employee. We know how often they're on time, whether they ever go overtime. We're going to start tracking things around performance like tasks and other valuable data that help us understand if they're a high performer or not. So the time system has a lot of great information about that employee. We know just a wealth of information to better understand who are high performers and who are low performers. If we could share that data, for example, with the hiring system, to know if we had 5 candidates ready to be hired for, say, our cleaning company that cleans buildings at nighttime, and we only need to hire 3, the data might help us better understand which 3 are the best ones to hire. So that's hiring and credentialing. That fits in with time and performance. Once our employees are hired and they're working, how can we distribute training information and learning data to help our poor performing employees become better employees? Well, the time system helps us understand who's a good employee and who isn't. Furthermore, the time system where people are punching in every day is a point where they're interfacing with our software. And frankly, that may be the only place that they are interfacing with any technology is the time system. So it makes sense to add learning management into our system down the road. And all of that will help with employee retention. So recently we have formed a partnership with a company here in the United States, and that partnership will drive us toward adding functionality for hiring and credentialing, and for learning management, employee retention, and job management. So if I were to switch these and rename them, we have HRIS, which stands for Human Resources Information System. In other words, we'll start tracking more information about each employee, notes, and what that employee's birthday is, and what was the hire date, and other just raw information about the human resource or that employee. An ATS system is all about hiring. It stands for Applicant Tracking System. So HRIS and ATS, or applicant tracking, will help us take somebody from an application all the way to becoming an employee. There's special documents that have to be signed, and those types of activities. Once they're hired, that's where we're doing our work today: time and performance, time and labor management. TLM stands for Time and Labor Management. Now for us, we want to make a new category called Time and Performance. So someday, maybe that will be TPM, Time and Performance Management, and Find is leading the way on that. Additionally, we want to add CRM, which stands for Customer Relationship, meaning our customers, say a janitorial customer, they have their own customers. And those clients of our clients have jobs. Now, a job is very similar to a hierarchy item. In fact, we have job in some of our hierarchy. But jobs are special because they start typically and they stop. They typically have a budget. They'll have a schedule. And that really doesn't work well as a hierarchy item. And in addition to that, we have a potential client right now. They have 83,000 jobs. There is no way to put 83,000 items in our hierarchy and have everything perform fast. I think Jen would tell you that Grand Central is going to not perform well if we ever put 83,000 additional hierarchy items under the account document. It's not a good model. So job will become its own piece of data, and job will have a schedule. So all the schedule work we've done will correlate very strongly with job. Learning management, the idea that employees need to be trained and store things like credentials and certificates will be part of that. So this is a lot of work that is going to be coming in the next year and 2-year plan. This is a long-term plan. So as we push forward with time and labor management, our current team is going to continue to push forward. Jen, Amar, myself, Slava, Vlad, Daniel, Thong, the testing team, and Satish and Gollum and Geo, and I'll go through teams here in a moment. We're going to keep pushing forward with our current roadmap for time and labor management. We still have scheduling to get out in the field on mobile. We need to polish that, find the bugs when we're in the field and release it. We need to do work around overtime calculation to make it work in any country. So we need to make that data driven. We need to do some work around rate calculations. We have some simple rate information with positions, but that needs work. We need to add holiday calendars to finish that module. So there's plenty of work with TLM, and the current team working on TLM is going to move forward. We are looking to separate the CRM and LMS and HRIS into their own, the CRM and HRIS and ATS into their own modules. And what that will allow is the current Grand Central will be our TLM module. We'll create a new Grand Central for HRIS, ATS, and a separate one for CRM job. That means that the releases will be 3 separate releases, even though to the end user it's one login, and they can go between all 3. And so I want to make that point clear, that the systems will be fully integrated, but yet separate in the sense that different teams can work on them. They can have different versions of React or different versions of our Material UI toolkit if needed, even though to the customer they all look consistent. And so hopefully that makes sense, that that's the plan over the next big push, 8 months to 12 months, and the longer term plan is 2 years, 3 years, to keep developing these various systems. This has been our goal with Find from the very, very beginning. So let me move on now to discuss our teams for a moment and end there. All right, so our teams are largely known. I think everybody understands where everybody fits within our team structure, but I wanted to use this org chart internally just to make that point very, very clear. So as co-founder with Ryan, I am the CEO, and Ryan is our COO and co-founder and my partner from the original time we launched Find 3.5 years ago, as all of you probably are very aware. So Ryan and I, collaborate on a lot of any important decisions. We are on the board of Find, in addition to our new partner. So that's the kind of top tier of where we're at with Find. In addition to that, Brad and Tom Rich have been involved on the sidelines, not full-time employees from the very beginning as well. Brad, as our CTO or Chief Technical Officer, handles the architecture decisions, the overall strategy around technology, and a lot of, and specifically the iOS decisions, along with me. Him and I collaborate greatly on almost every decision we make. And although Brad's day-to-day involvement sometimes may be limited, just know that he's in charge of our technical roadmap and where we're going. Tom Rich has been the Chief Revenue Officer or Head of Sales from the very almost the initiation of Find, and more specifically a year ago. I knew him through our previous work, and he's pushing hard to make sure we get new clients and doing a phenomenal job at that. Ryan, myself, Chris Barrera, who I'll mention here in a moment, Ben, and others help with the sales effort as well. We're all very involved. But Tom has the primary responsibility to make sure that as we do our marketing and look out for new clients, that we're bringing those in. I'd like to introduce a new person on our executive team, Pete Scala. Pete and I have known each other for maybe 8 to 10 years now, for a long time. And he is an outstanding leader and much more than just a financial mind. His former positions included COO of a very large company, CFO of some very large companies. Although he's not full-time with us, he's adding a lot of structure around our financial planning, our key metrics and accountability within our company, how to align the things that we're all doing in a way that help us to all succeed. And he's doing that very well as of this summer. Pete was very instrumental in helping us finalize the partnership that we have with the new client and partner out of Wisconsin, USA. Underneath Pete is Crystal, who has been with us for a long, long time. She's an outstanding bookkeeper. She does our day-to-day financials and our accounting and other things. Under client success, I'll introduce one of our other leaders as part of our team is Chris Barrera, as our Vice President of Client Success. He's had, years and years, probably a couple decades worth of experience in our key areas, HRIS and learning management, and specifically timekeeping. He deals with clients and implementing new clients. So when Tom finds a new deal and signs a new customer, we hand it off to Chris. And Chris and his team under Ryan push forward to make sure that we ensure they get rolled out, and once they're rolled out, that they're supported properly and everything works well under the client success umbrella. In that same team is Ben Peterson, who's here in Utah as well. So far, Pete, Tom, Ryan, Chris, and Ben, and myself, and Brad, we are all here in Utah, USA. Crystal is on the East Coast of USA, I believe South Carolina. And so she is a great outsourced bookkeeper, but not local to us. So Ben's role is really Director of Client Success with Chris. He helps with implementations. As you all know, he does a lot of our frontline response for support using our technical team to help troubleshoot issues. Ben is pushing hard around things like our user guides and training videos, and has become a great face for Find. You'll see him doing a lot of our YouTube explanations, and the future is very bright for Ben to help us continue to interface with clients. Chris, Ryan, and Ben, primarily once a sale has been won, are our team that's helping to make sure that that's a good experience for our customers. So over to the product side, which is where the largest team exists, and it's the most remote of all of our teams. Most of you are overseas for product. It really is Brad, myself, and Ryan leading the way, and with Satish having a special role in how this all plays out. So I've introduced myself, Brad, and Ryan, but as you all know, my background is I'm a programmer. So I'm a very technical person, where the client success team and sales team are very client focused, and although I'll be involved there, my general day-to-day is to make sure our DevOps and coding and overall plans are on track with product, along with Ryan and of course Brad. Satish, as you know, we've made him our director of QA and our Scrum Master. He's leading our QA team, which I'll introduce here in a minute, but he's also pushing hard to make sure we know what deadlines exist for all of our various releases. Not only internal Find products, but we've got other products like Envoy and Metaphys, where Geo's playing that role largely at the moment for us. But Satish has been a great right-hand man for me personally. He's kind of the person I turn to make sure we keep our priorities in line and our deadlines met. So let's introduce the different teams. I'm going to start with development, and then I'll move over to quality assurance. Our development team is large. I'm going to split this into 3 teams because we'll have 3 different main teams heading this up. I would say that everybody inside the TLM team will have work on both HRIS and ATS and CRM. So I'm not trying to say you won't, but primarily for now, I want to drive home the point that TLM is our main priority. These other projects are going to start coming online, and I will give more information about them. However, our first priority is to make sure our current product continues to work well and that we execute our roadmap goals, things I just mentioned. So to start, let me start with Jin and Amar and move down the list here. Jin has been with us, and same with Amar and Daniel, all 3 of them for a long, long time. Well, also Slava for a long, long time. That's probably the group that's been with us the longest. Jin is primarily responsible for Grand Central and back-end development. Jin is putting together a lot of the new features. He's our main new feature developer, and typically that comes to the front end first, to Grand Central. He's doing a lot of the back-end work, if not most of the back-end work now, to tie those 2 together. Amar has primarily focused on connectors. Now, over time, we want Amar and Jin and myself to own back-end development. There's going to be more and more development, so we want some crossover where Amar, Jin, and me are all sharing tasks on the back end. And Amar's time is such that his current focus will stay on connectors for the next few weeks, but we hope to get more time from him to help with that. And they've done just a phenomenal job with that effort. Daniel has been our longest tenured iOS developer. Brad did a lot of the iOS development in the beginning with Find. He's still very involved, heavily involved, but Daniel's helped us with one-time projects like Envoy and now Metaphys. He's helped us build an Assure mobile project, and then most recently really pushed hard on Find and scheduling. And along with our new iOS developer Vlad, we're excited about these 2 teams, this team of iOS developers. Vlad has been coming online and learning a lot about the new product. He's primarily been responsible to help do defect repair, refactoring where needed, unit test writing, and then a lot of the new features that are self-service. Vlad has helped us with. And we've got some breadcrumbing in GPS breadcrumbing that he's developed in iOS that we're excited to soon hopefully roll out to Grand Central and also Android. And so again, both Daniel and Vlad, we're very happy as far as that partnership goes, and that team have them on our iOS side. Slava, and by the way, let me just note as I go here that Jin is in China, Amar is in Pakistan, Daniel's also in China. They live about 30 minutes apart from each other, Jin and Daniel do. And Vlad is in the Ukraine. So keep that in mind. Now, Slava is also in the Ukraine, and she's done a phenomenal job on the Android side. Much like Daniel, she's worked on all of our Android projects from the beginning, including this Assure Mobile. Slava's, just an outstanding developer. I don't have enough good to say about her skills in Android, and just really happy with how everything's gone. And so what we're trying to do is keep Thong, who's in Vietnam, by the way, as our other Android developer, currently focused on Envoy and Metaphys. There's so much work with Envoy and Metaphys with Android that we really do need to keep Thong focused on that area and then bring him into the Find work to help out with Slava. In addition to that, because Android devices are much of the time our first line, many of our clients have clocks that are Android, we want to add an additional Android developer to also help with some of the Find development, along with Slava and ultimately Thong. And I think because Brad does a lot of the iOS development as well and oversees some of it, that'd bring each mobile team to 3 people, which is what we want. So if you have an Android developer that you know is very good, we're looking for recommendations. Otherwise, I'll go try to hire again on Upwork. That is an open position. Just to quickly comment on the HRIS ATS module we're going to build and the CRM job management module we're going to build. We plan to hire 2 front-end developers each to work with Jin and Tyler to help us build the front end. Most of the work for these are front end. Amar, Jin, and myself will handle the back end work and will add resources if needed. But primarily the work's going to be on front end. Therefore, we want to hire 4 full-time front-end devs, and my plan is to work with Jin and Tyler and go back to some of the developers that have helped us in the past. So hopefully we can rehire some people that have helped us. To round out the development group, I want to give a word to Tyler. So Tyler's here in Utah, and there's an advantage of him being close to me in that I can actually have much easier discussions with him. He's finishing up his master's degree in information systems, so he's highly technical, and he's going to help me with DevOps, meaning the release processes and the servers and some of the AWS stuff. I think Amar will continue to help with some of that as well. Amar's helping with Lambdas and CloudWatch, and I think that the 3 of us, Tyler, Amar, and I, will start to cross-train on DevOps. But primarily that'll be Tyler just because he's here with me in my time zone. Tyler will also kind of help to oversee the 3 different modules, how we're going to bring them all together. So he'll help decide along with Jin, how do we architect this in a way where all 3 look consistent, we can share some code, maybe some components on the front end, but yet all 3 are different base bodies of code. They all 3 get deployed differently, they'll have different URLs. How do we make sure that happens seamlessly? And my main goal is to not interrupt TLM. I don't want TLM to be interrupted by the working on these other 2. And so Jin, your primary focus in the beginning is to keep going on TLM, and we'll have you help out with these other 2 as needed to cross-train. All right, to finish up with QA and the team underneath Satish, of course we have Gio, who I mentioned earlier. He's largely been head of our one-off projects, Envoy and also Metaphys now. And he's helped with marketing in the past, support, documentation, but primarily we want him to focus on Scrum Master and QA for those projects. That's really, really valuable for us. Over time, we'd like to bring him back into Find as those projects wrap up and make sure that he has a very important role with our group there once we wrap those projects up, and probably in a year or so. Gollum, many of you have known, but Gollum is doing a lot of the work behind the scenes around the testing of mobile, the testing of Grand Central, a lot of the usability testing, a lot of the scripted testing under Satish's direction. He's helped really round out a phenomenal QA team. I could not be happier with this QA team. I think we've got top-notch talent and I appreciate all the work that's going into it. We have others under Satish Ajith in India. We've got a field testing team who I haven't yet put on the org chart that are also helping Satish. And then I'm going to talk with Satish about this, but I'd also like to hire a new QA for HRIS, ATS, and a new QA for CRM and job management, so that we can somewhat specialize. Although Gollum and Satish, I'm sure, and even Geo eventually will cross-train, specialization is important so that we can have more bandwidth and more deeper understanding of every system that we need to bring in. With that, I forgot to mention that we are actually also going to look to hire an implementation assistant QA for connectors underneath client success and Ben, with a dotted line to Satish for the QA side. So we want somebody that's very available, that can help with implementation behind the scenes, help with support issues, and interface both with Satish directly and also up through Ben and Chris and Ryan. So I've kind of gone a long time here. It's a long video, but I wanted to give everybody a bit of a vision of where we're going. We're very, very happy with our progress. We love our team and hope that we can build a deeper relationship, even though it's largely through Slack and email. Let's be open with each other, ask each other how we're doing. You'll see Ryan and I do that a lot, where we might ask you about your personal hobbies or things like that, because I think the closer friends we become, the easier it is to work together, especially as we have problems or stressful times. That does make it easier. If you ever feel like you have a question for me or Ryan or any of us, just feel free to ask. If you're concerned about the hours you're working, or you feel like our expectations of how much you're working doesn't meet what your availability is, please do not hesitate to ask us. We'll be flexible, because we know that if you're happy, if you have a good good life balance with low stress, that you're going to be higher performers for us too. And we look at all of you as partners in this. And as we grow, we hope to be able to reward all of you in ways that match your contribution. And over time, that will grow and grow as we get bigger and kind of move out of our startup phase, our smaller phase that we've been in, into a larger and larger company. And all of you will be part of that larger company as leaders, because you've all shown that leadership ability and that loyalty. So thank you. I appreciate everything you're doing. Let's keep going, and be on the lookout for more detail coming around these 2 new modules. Thank you.